Thank you all very much for being here this afternoon. It is my great honor to be here among such an impressive panel of women. I feel very honored to be included among you. So many powerful, intelligent, accomplished women, and you're all my mentors. And so I just want to give, and everyone here, I think these are very important issues. I'm so happy that we're talking about the empowerment of women. And so it's just a real great honor to be here. As Dr. Shah said, my name is Vandana Bala. I am the General Counsel of Mercy for Animals, a farmed animal protection organization. For those of you who aren't familiar with the term, farmed animals refers to animals used in food production, animals who are killed for meat, hens who lay eggs, and cows who produce milk. I'm going to give a talk tomorrow, as I mentioned, at 11 o'clock in the E-Hotel about Mercy for Animals. Please, if you're able to, please come and attend that talk. I think you'd find it very interesting. So as the General Counsel, I run the legal department for Mercy for Animals. And I have to say, just in keeping with the other speakers' comments that they made, I did not want to be a lawyer. After 12 years of high school and the schooling and then college, I was done, and it was my mother who kept pushing me. Go to law school, get a graduate degree, year after year. And she said because she didn't want me to be dependent on anyone. She wanted me to stand on my own 2 feet and provide for myself. And so I'm very grateful to my mother. Because of her, I'm doing what I believe to be some really meaningful and important work. So a few of the themes that we've heard already today are the empowerment of women and equal treatment of women, treating females with dignity and respect and compassion. I agree with all of those themes and all of those principles. I think they're incredibly important. What I want to talk about this afternoon is why we, as women, should care about factory farming and how it affects us as women. The vast majority of animals and animal products that we consume, all the dairy products, those of us who may consume eggs in biscuits or cakes or whatnot, those products come from the factory farming system, from animals who are factory farmed. These are huge industrial operations. They look like warehouses. And they're very much like factories and not really at all like farms. Modern day food production, especially factory farming, is a really terrible system. It's bad for animals. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for workers, the people who are working in these places. And it's bad for public health and for our resources. But we as women should be especially concerned about factory farming practices because this is a system that inherently exploits females. And because of that, it's bad for us as women. I'm going to talk for a few minutes about current factory farming practices and show you how the female of the species are the ones who suffer year after year, suffering that's really shocking and unimaginable to us, simply because they're female. Each year, millions of pigs are killed for meat in this country alone. Current pork production practices involve impregnating the female pigs and confining them in these crates called gestation crates for almost their entire lives. These, as you can see, are tiny metal crates that are so small, these mother pigs cannot even turn around. They are stuck in one position for nearly their entire lives. Female pigs are impregnated. They're confined in these gestation crates for the duration of their pregnancy, and then after they give birth, their babies are taken away from them and they're impregnated again. This horrifying practice happens over and over and over again until these mother pigs are finally sent to slaughter. Now, it's important to note that pigs are highly intelligent, sociable animals. Not only is this type of confinement bad for them physically, it slowly drives them crazy. They go mad. They start biting their bars, shaking their heads over and over again. Stereotypies is the scientific term for it, because they lose their minds. They're stuck in one position. A famous animal welfare specialist said, imagine being stuck in an airplane seat for your entire life. And that's what it feels like for these animals. Now, it's important to note that this level of suffering happens to the female of the pig, because she's the one who ultimately gives birth. This is all for breeding purposes. I think my remarks on dairy might be especially relevant to all of us here today. All of the cows used by the dairy industry are female. As with humans, only the female cows can produce milk, and that too only when they're pregnant. So in order to keep a steady supply of milk, factory-farmed cows are repeatedly impregnated year after year after year. They're not impregnated naturally, however. Instead, the bull's semen is manually, roughly and painfully inserted into the female cow, often using a mechanism that the dairy industry itself calls a rape rack. That is their term for it. Female cows are impregnated over and over again, about 5 to 6 times in a row, until their bodies become broken and simply unable to go on. The normal lifespan of a cow is about 20 years. In the dairy industry, these cows live for about 5 years, after which time their bodies become so run down and broken that they collapse, and then they're sent to slaughter. The milk that a dairy cow produces is intended for her calf. It's not intended for humans. But in order to maximize the amount of milk that can be sold, the dairy industry takes the calves away from their mothers when they're just a day or 2 old. Now we have an audience here of almost all women, many of whom have had children. Imagine carrying a child for 9 months, giving birth to the child who you love more than anything, and then having that child immediately taken away from you so that your breast milk can be used for some other purpose. Just the thought of that is horrifying. It's like a horror movie. This is what happens to dairy cows every single day. The bond between the mother cow and her calf is just as real as the bond between a human woman and her child. And the cow suffers just as much when her baby is taken away from her as we would. The sound of a mother cow crying for her calf is absolutely heartbreaking. Mother cows will cry for days or even weeks after her calf is taken away from her. And this slide here, I thought it would be interesting to show you, happened nearby in Pennsylvania, where there was a dairy farm and there were strange noises coming from it. And so the neighbors around this dairy farm called the police and said, there's strange noises, can you please go and investigate and see what's happening? Well, the police went and they investigated, and it turns out that those so-called strange noises were the mother cows bellowing, crying for their babies after their babies had been taken away from them. It says here, in the first paragraph, the noises coming from mother cows who are lamenting the separation from their calves. And it says in the bottom, mother cows are separated from calves shortly after they are born, so the calves don't drink the mother's milk. This is standard dairy practice. After giving birth, and having their babies taken away, these heartbroken cows are forced to endure months of painful and violent milking. They're milked twice a day, often by being hooked up to mechanical milking machines. Now, approximately 1 out of 6 dairy cows suffers from mastitis, which is a painful infection of the udders. It's also a leading cause of death in adult dairy cows. Their udders are infected and painful, often filled with pus and blood, which does make its way into the milk. But that's not the worst of it. These cows can only take so much. Year after year, they're forcibly impregnated. Their bodies, so much is demanded of them that after a while, as one can imagine, they can't take it anymore. They collapse. Their bodies become run down, worn down. And this is an epidemic in the dairy industry called downed cows or downer cows. These are cows who are so ill or injured that they can't stand or walk on their own. Once they're downed, these cows are brutally tortured to get them to move. They're dragged with chains, picked up with forklifts, and shocked with electric prods. And note, again, who is suffering the most in this system? The females. The females are being exploited because of their reproductive organs. That is no more proper or acceptable for any other species as it would be to do to human females. Egg-laying hens, again, are among the most abused and exploited beings on Earth. And again, it is the female species that is exploited for her physical, reproductive capabilities because it's only the females that can lay eggs. These hens are kept in wire cages known as battery cages for nearly their entire life. They are so overcrowded in these cages that each hen has less space than this sheet of paper. Less than this paper, about 2/3 of this paper is how much space each hen gets for nearly her entire life. It's so cramped she can't even fully spread her wings. These are living, being, thinking, feeling beings, just like us. Their beaks are painfully burned off without any painkillers so that they don't peck each other to death. And often, these hens get trapped in the wires of the cages. They can't reach food and water, so they slowly suffer and die. And in addition, they get trampled by the other birds in the cage because they're stuck. Eventually, their bodies become so tired and broken, they stop being able to produce eggs and they're sent to slaughter. The factory farming industry, modern day food production, is inherently exploitative of females because of their physiological and biological traits. For those of you who are interested in learning more, I recommend this book, The Sexual Politics of Meat by a woman named Carol Adams. The reason this is so harmful to us as women is because the animal agriculture industry not only exploits other females in the name of commerce, in the name of food production, but they prey on us, our nurturing and caring natures, encouraging us to give our children these products. For example, milk. We're made obligated to do so, made to feel obligated, and we're told that we're bad mothers if we don't. And here's a good example of what I'm talking about. My family. Oh, you know, I don't think we have sound. I'll just skip the... Like if you like, we can put the microphone. I'll skip this video. I know we're short on time. What they don't tell you is that consumption of animal products, including milk and eggs, can lead to harmful health conditions. Here are just some examples of the ingredients that are in dairy and eggs that lead to physical harm. There's study after study proving that the best way to prevent against conditions like diabetes, cancer, heart disease, is to eat a plant-based diet consisting primarily of fruits and vegetables, grains and legumes, and to eliminate animal products from our diet. They also don't tell us that the dairy industry is filled with cruelty and abuse. And these practices offend any principles of nonviolence and compassion that we hold dear. But we're kept in the dark about all of this by an industry that's mainly interested in making money. As women, the treatment of mother cows and hens and other animals used for food is directly relevant to us. We're working very hard for empowerment, for equal treatment. Women are so often viewed as objects with no other value than our sex organs. And women have consistently been treated as expendable and inferior to men. Yet we, all of us here, and our mothers, and our sisters, and our daughters, are just as entitled to respect and equality and compassion as our fathers and our brothers and our sons. Mercy for Animals each year proudly marches in pride parades across the country. And we carry a banner that says, "No one is free when others are oppressed." The exploitation of females for food production, simply because they're female, is oppressive to the females of all species. As long as the oppression of some groups exists, it will continue to affect all of us. And that's something that all of us as women should be concerned about. We need to take a stand against the abuse of females just because they're female. Now, many of us may not have the inclination or the ability to take on the factory farming industry directly, but that's okay. What we can do is we can stop purchasing those products. We can stop supporting those industries and that cruelty with our money. And there are so many healthier, cruelty-free alternatives to choose from instead. And it's so available, especially in the US, but also increasingly in India. Mercy for Animals has a number of resources to help you make this switch, whether you want to do it gradually or all at once. One example is our video website, chooseveg.com, and we have an Indian version of the website, chooseveg.in. I will circulate, we have a one-page handout after the talk. If you're interested, please let me know and I'll share it with you. But we have a lot of resources online with our organization to help you. Please see me after the talk. As women, we do have to look out for each other to protect the progress that we've made. These animals cannot speak for themselves, so it's up to us to speak for them. Thank you very much.